Trauma. It's a word we hear often, but what does it truly mean? Trauma is not just about experiencing a terrible event. It's about how that event overwhelms our ability to cope. It's about the lasting impact on our minds and bodies. Trauma changes how we see the world, how we interact with others, and how we feel about ourselves. Imagine a child who witnesses domestic violence. This experience can shatter their sense of safety and security. This is trauma. Or think about a soldier returning from war, haunted by memories and nightmares. Their ability to connect with loved ones and find peace is fractured. This is trauma. Trauma comes in many forms. It can be a single event, like a car accident or a natural disaster. It can also be ongoing, like living with abuse or neglect. No matter the cause, trauma leaves its mark. It impacts our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in profound ways. Understanding trauma is crucial. It's about recognizing the invisible wounds that people carry. It's about having compassion for their struggles. Most importantly, it's about knowing that healing is possible. To understand trauma, we must understand the brain. Our brains are wired for survival. When we face danger, our bodies go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. This is a natural and necessary response. It helps us stay alive in threatening situations. Trauma, however, disrupts this system. When we experience trauma, our brains get stuck in survival mode. Even when the danger is gone, our bodies and minds stay on high alert. This leads to a cascade of physical and emotional symptoms. We might struggle with anxiety, always feeling on edge. Sleep becomes difficult, haunted by nightmares or insomnia. Our emotions feel overwhelming, leading to anger outbursts or emotional numbness. Concentration becomes a challenge, making it hard to focus at work or school. These are not signs of weakness. They are the brain's way of trying to protect itself from further harm. The brain, in essence, is trying to keep us safe by keeping us vigilant, even when it's not necessary. Imagine walking down a dark street at night. Suddenly you hear footsteps behind you, your heart races, your palms sweat, and your body tenses. This is your fight, flight, or freeze response kicking in. It's your body's way of preparing you to deal with potential danger. In a traumatic event, this response is amplified. The threat is real and immediate. The problem is, when trauma is ongoing or unresolved, this response doesn't get a chance to turn off. Our bodies and minds remain in a state of high alert, even when we are safe. This constant state of arousal takes a toll. We may experience physical symptoms like headaches, digestive problems, or chronic pain. Emotionally, we may feel constantly anxious, irritable, or easily startled. It's like living with the emergency brake on all the time. Understanding this primal response is key to understanding trauma. It helps explain why trauma survivors may react in ways that seem out of proportion to the current situation. Their bodies and minds are still reacting to the past. When trauma keeps us in survival mode, everyday life becomes a battleground. We see threats where none exist. We misinterpret situations and interactions, always expecting the worst. This is because our brains are wired to protect us, even if it means overreacting to perceived dangers. A car backfiring might sound like a gunshot, a raised voice might trigger a panic attack. These are not overreactions. They are instinctive responses rooted in past trauma. Our brains are trying to keep us safe by reminding us of danger, even when it's not present. This hypervigilance comes at a cost. It keeps us from experiencing life fully. It prevents us from forming healthy relationships and trusting others. We may withdraw from loved ones, fearing further hurt or disappointment. The good news is that there is hope. With the right support and tools, we can learn to regulate our nervous system and manage our responses. We can start to live in the present moment, rather than being held captive by the past. The mask we wear: trauma and coping mechanisms. When we experience trauma, we develop coping mechanisms to survive. These mechanisms are our way of navigating a world that suddenly feels unsafe. They are our shields, protecting us from further pain and emotional overload. Some coping mechanisms are healthy. We might turn to exercise, art, or spending time in nature to find solace and release. We might confide in trusted friends or family members seeking comfort and understanding. However, some coping mechanisms can be harmful. These maladaptive coping strategies often develop as a way to numb the pain, avoid difficult emotions, or regain a sense of control. While they may provide temporary relief, they ultimately prevent us from healing and moving forward. It's important to remember that these coping mechanisms, even the unhealthy ones, served a purpose at some point in our lives. They helped us survive. Understanding this is the first step to developing healthier ways of coping. Isolation, the silent burden. Isolation is a common coping mechanism for trauma survivors. After experiencing something so painful, it's natural to want to withdraw from the world. We may feel ashamed, different, or afraid of being judged. We may struggle to connect with others who haven't experienced similar trauma. This isolation, while providing a sense of safety in the short term, can be incredibly damaging in the long run. Humans are social creatures. We need connection and belonging to thrive. When we isolate ourselves, we deny ourselves the support and understanding that is crucial for healing. Isolation can lead to feelings of loneliness, depression, and anxiety. It can also make it harder to break free from unhealthy coping mechanisms, as we are not exposed to alternative ways of being. Recognizing isolation as a coping mechanism is essential. It's a sign that we need to reach out, even if it feels scary or uncomfortable. Connecting with others who understand our experiences can be a lifeline, reminding us that we are not alone. Numbing the pain when coping becomes unhealthy. When pain feels unbearable, it's only natural to seek ways to numb it. We might turn to alcohol, drugs, food, or even work to avoid feeling the full weight of our emotions. These behaviors provide temporary relief, creating a sense of distance from the trauma. However, these coping mechanisms often create more problems than they solve. Substance abuse can lead to addiction, health problems, and relationship issues. Overworking can result in burnout, stress, and physical ailments. These behaviors, while seemingly providing a solution, actually keep us trapped in a cycle of pain and avoidance. It's important to remember that numbing the pain doesn't make it go away. It simply pushes it down, often making it resurface with even greater intensity later on. True healing requires us to face our emotions, process them, and find healthy ways to manage them. Breaking free. The journey to healing. Healing from trauma is possible. It's not about forgetting the past, but about learning to live with it in a way that doesn't control our present or future. It's about reclaiming our power, our voice, and our lives. The first step is acknowledging the trauma and its impact on our lives. This requires courage, honesty, and self-compassion. It's about recognizing that we are not to blame for what happened, but we are responsible for our healing. Seeking professional help is crucial. A therapist trained in trauma-informed care can provide a safe and supportive space to explore our experiences, process our emotions, and develop healthier coping mechanisms. Healing is a journey, not a destination. There will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt, but with every step we take towards healing, we move closer to a life filled with hope, resilience, and peace. Seeking help, you don't have to do it alone. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It's about recognizing that we don't have to go through this alone. There are people who care, who understand, and who want to help us heal. Reaching out to a therapist, counselor, or support group can provide a lifeline. These professionals can offer guidance, support, and a safe space to process our experiences. They can teach us coping skills, help us manage our emotions, and empower us to reclaim our lives. Remember, healing is not a linear process. There will be good days and bad days. It's important to be patient with ourselves, to celebrate our progress, and to reach out for support when we need it. Understanding for a healthier tomorrow. Understanding trauma is not just about recognizing the problem. It's about creating a world where people feel safe seeking help, where they are met with compassion and understanding, and where they are given the tools they need to heal. It's about educating ourselves about the signs of trauma, about the impact it can have on individuals and families, and about the importance of early intervention and support. It's about breaking down the stigma surrounding mental health and creating a culture where vulnerability is seen as a strength. By fostering empathy, compassion, and understanding, we can create a world where trauma no longer holds people captive, where healing is possible, and where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.